Minister right now. Good morning.
It's nice to be here.
It's very nice to see you.
Actually,
It is a beautiful day out there. Now, I'm glad you're here because on this programme I don't think we're hard political interviews, but all of us, everything that we want to talk about this morning affects us all, and we want to know a bit about you as well. So it's an opportunity for you to be a human being. So last week, obviously, disaster in the local elections. What do you think actually did do you in?
People's worries. I think anybody who's watching this programme this morning is worried about the price of bread, the price of milk. They're worried about the price of petrol, worried about the utility bills. And we've got this huge problem that started in America, and it's come through to Britain, and we're affected by it. And we've got to show people over the next few months that we can, as we have before, dealt with these family budget problems, these economic problems.
Yeah, it's a big problem. People are facing, you know, negative equity again in their houses, getting a mortgage.
I hope we're going to avoid that. What's actually happened is there's been a credit crunch, so the banks are not lending money. But what's also happened is that there's a shortage of food around the world.
Yes.
And the oil price, you know, at one point when I was Chancellor, the oil price was $10 a barrel, and it's now $110 a barrel. And that's something that's happened as a result of what's happening in the Arab world, the political instability. And so people are inevitably facing rising utility bills and rising petrol prices.
But how much tax do you put on the fuel? Because that's
well,
you know, in America you can fill up a car for sort of £40, whereas over here it could be £100.
Well,
that's something here from Matthew in Staffordshire. Isn't it time you drop the extortionate duty on fuel to give people a break?
Fuel duty has been frozen for most of the last few years.
But how much is it on a litre?
Well, it's a high part of the litre, so you take the £1.10, it's a high part of it. But the problem is that over the last few years we've recognised the rising price of oil, so we have frozen the duty, and we've frozen it in the budget for the next six months. And what we're trying to do actually is to get the oil price down worldwide. So I'm putting pressure on OPEC, which is the oil producers. The Americans and others like us are trying to put pressure on OPEC because there's no reason why the oil price should be $110. We've got to get it down. And a realistic price a few years ago was thought to be about $25 a barrel. It's now $110, so we've got to get that down. So over the next few months, what I see happening is that we get the banks moving again, we get the mortgage market moving again so that first-time buyers can get decent offers.
And how do you do that?
Well, I think you'll find in the next few days we've got measures that we're bringing in to make it easier for people to get the first mortgage. I think there's a number of things that we could do that will help people get shared equity to speed up the housing market.
Sorry, what's shared equity?
Now, shared equity is really interesting because if you were going as a first-time buyer at the moment, you would have asked for maybe 100% mortgage, and you would have maybe got quite a good deal on lower interest rates. Some of these deals are not available at the moment because of the credit crunch, and that's why people are worried. So there's a scheme where you could buy 80% of your house or 70% of your house and then buy the 30% later. And it's a lot cheaper to afford. It's easier to afford.
That sounds like a mortgage.
But we are putting up the other 20%. The government or the housing association or someone which is a public organisation. So you can get into the housing market even although house prices are expensive.
Okay, but then where does the government find the money?
Well, we give a support for that. We give some financial support.
But where will you find the money? Because we're always being told there isn't enough money.
We've put money aside for it, actually.
You have done?
Yes,
okay.
we put money aside for it. Because, look, you know, when house prices were extremely high, it was becoming very, very difficult for young people to get into the housing market. And parents are worried that their children will never get that chance. Now, we're not building enough houses, so we're trying to build more homes as necessary. But at the same time, for people coming in for the first time, what we would like to do is say, if you can't afford the 100% mortgage, if you can't afford to pay the 100%, then buy 80%. We will help you move up into the housing ladder, and then over time you can buy up the next 20%.
Okay. And when
now,
will
it could be 70%,
available?
it could be 60%.
Yeah.
Some schemes are available now, and if people want to inquire about this through the programme, we'll give the information to people about it.
Okay.
More schemes, I hope, will be available in the next few weeks. What we're trying to do is replace what has been the best offer in the past, which was building societies offering these fixed-rate mortgages for a very short period of time, now with an offer of shared equity. So that is something that will become more prevalent in the next few years.
Good. Well, I can see that's a way out of it, but we're in a mess if we have to do that. And
well, no. It would, if house prices had continued to rise even as fast as they were doing last year, then it would become more and more difficult for young people to get the first rung on the housing ladder. So shared equity had a point and a purpose even before we had this difficulty with house prices. And I think it will become more common in the years to come that you buy the first 60% and the first 70% and then you buy the rest later. And that will allow people to plan their family budgets over a period of time.
And as you say about young people, somebody here from university, he's graduating any minute now. Where is this one? I can't find it for a moment. Steph in Kent, a lady, yes, she says, I'm a student just about to graduate from university. She only has a £10,000 debt to pay back. Yeah. Her sister will be going, and in about 18 months' time, her debt will be perhaps twice as much, £20,000. And as parents, you know, we're told to look out, because if our children are going to go to university, we're going to have £30,000 for each child. And so that's why young people starting out with the brain, you know, you had the opportunity to have a great university education, the fees all paid for with the grant, and no debt to start your life with. And yet all these young, brilliant brains will have a tremendous burden to carry.
There will be more people getting grants in the next few years. We made an announcement a few months ago that we're increasing the number of students who are going to get grants. Now, some of them will be full grants and some of them will be partial grants. But we decided that a few months ago that it was very difficult for some people to get to university, and it was discouraging people that there weren't these grants available, so we're producing more grants. And over the next few years, more grants will be available.
What sort of percentage of all those people?
I think about 2/3 will have some form of grant, and about 1/3 will get the full grant. So we are changing it.
And is that income based? They've got to look at.
Yes, it's income based, and then of course the tuition fees have to be repaid at some point, and that's the difficult. But you see, look, when I went to university, only 5% of the population went to university.
Yes.
Now it's about 40%, and it's going to grow. And I want more young people to go to university.
I know. But then
and
that's
more to get
another
apprenticeships,
thing.
more to get college places.
Yeah, I agree, apprenticeships particularly. But the point is now they're thinking, well, I can't get a job anyway, so I may as well have 3 years in university as another secure umbrella.
You know the great thing about Britain in the future is that there will be more jobs, because you know we've created
We've been hearing that for 20 years.
We've created 3 million more jobs in the last 10 years. Lots of more jobs, and there's more coming. And you know this thing about people talk about the global economy, what's happening. There are huge opportunities for the countries that have people with skills and talent. Companies will come and locate in Britain if we have the talented people to offer them. People with ideas and innovative things that they can market. You know, like Britain, you know, it was a Brit that invented the iPod. You know, if you've got really innovative and creative things, people will come to your country to locate, and therefore new jobs will be created. So I'm optimistic about the future and jobs, but I want young people to get the skills. And it's really got to be a partnership, because if you want almost every young person either to be on an apprenticeship or going to college or going to university so that they have a skill for the future, then somehow we've got to share the costs of that. And that's why the parent and the student paying something later and the government share the costs for the future. But there are huge opportunities. If you take the apprenticeship, it's really fascinating, you know. 10 years ago there was only about 70,000 people doing apprenticeships, and it was almost dying out. People thought the apprenticeship was dying out. Well, now there's about 200,000, so it's really grown, and we're going to grow it again in the next few years. And you get apprenticeships in a whole range of different things, so that girls are now doing apprenticeships. And I would like sometime to explain, maybe on this programme, just the range of apprenticeships that are now available.
Yes,
it'd be really exciting, because if you can get a skill and you've got something that you can then offer an employer, the chances of getting not just a job, but getting a really good job and getting good pay in the next few years is very high. So Britain should be very optimistic about its economic prospects, because we are a country with great innovation. Our fashion industry, our architects, our IT industry,
we do all know that. I mean,
our video games
the
industry.
majority